I hate sawdust, which may sound a little strange coming from a woodworker, but I work hard to keep a clean shop, and that means having a good dust collection system. But I learned early on that one of the biggest myths in woodworking is that it's possible to have a completely dust-free shop. I've spent years and many thousands of dollars chasing that unattainable goal. There was always a bigger vacuum, better duct work, better filtration, more blast gates and fittings and accessories. I wasted so much time and money over the years, it's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should not invest in a good dust collection system. You absolutely should, because keeping your shop clean is important for a lot of reasons, including safety. And that's what a dust collection system does. It keeps the dust from piling up. But a dust collector or a vacuum or whatever you use to keep your shop floors and benches clean is not going to keep the air you breathe clean. Your tools are still going to put fine dust in that air, and that's the stuff you should really worry about. The question is, how much should you worry about breathing in that fine dust? After all, we breathe in dirt and pollen and bugs and all sorts of stuff outside the shop every day. Few people drop dead from it. So I'm always a little skeptical when I hear people act as if sawdust is going to wipe out all of mankind, starting with us woodworkers. For example, I often hear that wood dust is classified in the US as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same group that includes cigarettes and plutonium. The implication is that your table saw is going to give you cancer. I think that's a little misleading, don't you? I mean, steak and whiskey are also classified as Group 1 carcinogens. Is that going to kill me too? I doubt it, because I consume those things in moderation. And I think that's the key to protecting yourself from fine woodworking dust too. I don't worry about stirring up a little dust when I walk around the shop. I may even make a cut or two at the table saw without holding my breath. But I do avoid immoderate consumption of fine dust, and I think you should too. Because even though I joke, I do believe that overexposure to copious amounts of it will, at the very least, shorten the amount of time you can enjoy this hobby, be it because you develop sinus allergies or even severe health problems down the road. So it's an important topic. But as with everything, we need balance. And in this video, I hope to help you find that proper balance so that you can keep yourself safe and healthy without getting tricked into spending more than you should for equipment that promises more than it can deliver. As I said, good dust collection systems will keep your tools and your benches and your floors clean, and that's important. But it will not collect all the fine dust, because no matter how much your vacuum sucks, our tools are simply not designed for 100% fine dust collection. The ports are often too small or too poorly located to pull all that dust off a blade that's throwing it at hundreds of miles an hour in all different directions. So the best way to protect your lungs is with a dust mask. And that mask needs to be properly rated and fit to your face. Different masks carry different ratings, and it can be confusing to make sense of them all. Usually, though, they will tell you the size of the particle that it will filter away and the percentage of those particles it'll catch. You may have to do some digging to find that, but any reputable mask will give you that information. You want something that will catch at least 95% of anything larger than about 1/3 of a micron, or 0.3, which covers pretty much all wood dust. This mask, for example, is NIOSH approved to filter out more than 99% of anything larger than 0.3 microns. Masks with N95 ratings are also common. That means they'll filter out 95% of 0.3 micron and above. Sometimes you also see respirators with P100 cartridges. That's very similar to this mask in that it will catch over 99% of 0.3 micron particles, but it has the added benefit of being resistant to industrial petroleum, something you're not likely to encounter in a woodworking shop. But any of the NIOSH-approved ratings that I just mentioned will capture the fine dust a woodworker is concerned with. However, a mask is only as good as its seal. I have yet to find regular paper masks that seal well, and I find those larger respirators uncomfortable to wear over very long periods in the shop. So after years of searching, I found this mask, the Stealth Light, that is not only very light and comfortable, but it also features a rubber-like seal on the back, much like a respirator. This is by far the best sealing mask I have ever found. And I've been using these in my shop for about 5 years now, and I'm still a big fan. I'll link to them below this video. Just get one and try it. You will see what I'm talking about. But that said, as some of you may have noticed, I recently grew this magnificent beard. And it is just a fact that a beard makes it more difficult for any mask to seal on your face. Now, my beard is pretty short, and the rubber seal on this particular mask does seem to do okay with a little bit of hair between it and my skin. But only a clean-shaven face can offer you the best protection. And that's the price bearded people pay for looking this good. Masks are simply not going to seal as well. So if I'm cutting a lot of really dusty material, I'll use a full face powered system like the AirShield Pro that goes over my beard. But that's a whole different animal. If you have a beard and something like this is not in your budget, just consider keeping your beard short and at least wearing a mask with a double strap system that will pull it tightly onto your face and seal as much as possible. Now, once you have a well-fitting mask with the proper level of filtration, you need to know when to wear it, because none of us wants to have something over our face the entire time we're in a shop. This is where balance comes in. If you have sinus or lung problems, you should get your doctor's advice. In fact, it may be a good idea to run anything I'm saying by a doctor if you have any doubt about your specific health situation. I'm not a doctor. I can only speak to what works for me based on my personal experience and opinions. Personally, I don't worry about making 1 or 2 cuts without a mask. As I said, I use a blade guard on my table saw and I have a dust collector running, so I'm not showering my face with wood chips. I'm sure I do breathe a little bit of the fine dust in the air, but I doubt it's much worse than what I breathe when I walk my dog along the corn or wheat fields by my house. But if I'm going to be using the table saw for more than just 1 or 2 cuts, or a router or any dusty power tool, I slip on a mask. Same with the sander, even if I have a vacuum hose attached. I wear a mask, and I can tell the difference after just a few minutes of working. I'm not coughing, I'm not digging in my nose for dust boogers later on. That's when you know you've exposed yourself to too much dust. All of this comes with a caveat though. If you're working with manufactured materials such as plywood, particle board, or MDF, wear a mask for every cut. That stuff is full of all sorts of nasty, cancer-causing garbage. You don't want to inhale any amount of that. Finally, the most common question I get about dust masks is how do I know when it's time to throw it out or change the filters? This one, for example, has a filter that breaks away from the frame so you can replace just the media instead of the whole thing and save some money. You can't put a time limit on filters because it just depends on what you're doing. If you're working in a cloud of dust, the filter will obviously plug up much quicker. And as it clogs, less air will be able to go through. So when you feel like you aren't able to breathe as well as you should, maybe it's time to get a fresh filter. Don't worry, a dirty mask isn't going to let more particles through, so you'll still be protected if you go a little too long between changes. But don't stress out your lungs just to save a couple bucks on masks either. I'm a firm believer of having a good dust collection system. I have made many videos about that, but there is no substitute for a good dust mask. Get one and use it whenever you're making a lot of fine dust. But don't freak out about it so much that it takes all the joy out of woodworking. As with everything in life, common sense and balance goes a long way. See you next time.